I always gotta do this.
Yo, can you hear me, comrade?
Comrade, I can hear you. Awesome
Yeah,
sauce.
hey, what's that?
Said awesome.
Fuck yeah. How you doing tonight, comrade?
I'm doing excellent. How about yourself?
I'm doing decent. I'm just about to... We were just, Did you hear this news about Joe Manchin's daughter?
I heard something about that. I had been hearing some stirrings about that for a little while, but this is like this just broke today though, right? Like there was
Some
something
fucking
big that happened.
smoking guns. Yeah.
Oh shit.
I was going over it on my stream earlier. Basically said Joe Manchin, you know how like EpiPen prices over the past decade have gone through the fucking roof, and then I think partially because of public backlash the prices have gone down a bit compared to what they used to be, but it's still like absolutely disgusting.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like it was, and that so like it was because oh, what are the words I'm looking for? Not only am I kind of blitzed, but I'm also like pretty drunk. So
Hey, that's quite all right. That's usually me on a lot of my streams too.
oh yeah, I feel that.
I need to take a liver break today though.
I think on the hippy dippy recruitment thing that we were both on, I think I might have had like a little bit too much to drink for that, and I feel kind of bad, but still managed to make myself not look like as much of a jackass as Crudgelord. So,
Oh god, that was so bad. You're gaslighting me. I was like, gaslighting you
that?
for? He's like, you're gaslighting me.
Oh yeah, that.
I'm like,
Yeah, I was like,
gaslighting you? Like what?
Yeah, all I could do was sit there, absolutely fucking dumbfounded about the words I had heard coming out of that man's mouth. It was like, this is like when some like toddler like hears some new word for the first time and then constantly misuses it anytime they're mad.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. That's totally what it sounded like. And when he started showing all the beers, I was like, that's why I put my Carlsberg up. I was like, you know what, dude? This is what this has devolved into, so, you know, why not? But yeah.
It was just, I could tell. I felt kind of bad for Geek during that. I was just looking at his camera during that, and I'm just like, poor guy. He looks like he's not happy with this.
He has so much patience, man. I even mentioned that.
He is fucking patient. One thing I've like thought about, because of sometimes like how people will whine about the blood sports on fucking panels or even just one-on-one Twitch debates. I've thought about like trying to either run a panel show or offering myself up as like a moderator, where my whole thing is like I am extremely strict, and like if people speak out of turn, like I instantly fucking mute them or something.
Yeah, it might be worthwhile, you know.
Yeah, I might try to do it because it would attract its audience, but it's also like some of the fucking drama getting caught up in this bullshit sometimes isn't worth it. I still might do it though. It'll be difficult to balance doing that with my love of fucking diving into fucking racing simulators over the past year.
Hey man, that shit's dope. That shit's dope. I don't mind that at all.
I wanted a fucking steering setup for years, because I remember when I was like a teenager, like 10 fucking years ago. When I was like a freshman and sophomore in high school, I got Forza Motorsport 4 on Xbox 360, and I fucking loved it. And I was playing it on controller, and I'm like, with like the degree of control I want to have over the car in that game, it's like not possible for my thumbs. And I asked my parents for like a wheel controller, one of those wheels that like it doesn't provide like force feedback from the fucking game data or anything, but it's still like it's a fucking controller that's like a steering wheel and pedals rather than a controller. And yeah, they got it for me for Christmas for like for when I was like, I was like 16 or some shit, and it's like 15 or 16, and I think I was 16. Can't remember. I think they came out like 2011, so I think I was like 16. And yeah, I remember I loved that shit. And then when I got older, a friend of mine had got like into the fucking like actual like force feedback shit. He had like a Logitech setup and he got into Assetto Corsa because he liked fucking building out cars for drifting in real life. And Assetto Corsa was his way of practicing without having to spend money on gasoline or real tires.
That's
because
crazy.
expensive.
But I could see that being a total thing, you know, like
Yeah.
why not?
Oh yeah. And for that reason, that's why like professional racing organizations like fucking Formula One teams spend enormous amounts of money on these simulator setups that they'll have their drivers drive on, because in addition to, you know, especially Formula One, everything is expensive as balls. The steering wheel costs like $50,000 on a Formula One car.
Right, right.
Like, and in addition to that, the amount of like, to try to like make it fair, the amount of like testing a team is allowed to do of their car, like out of race, is very strictly regulated. So these teams, they build these absurd fucking like motion fucking like full motion simulator setups that are basically like the fucking like force feedback direct drive steering wheel and pedal setup is mounted inside a facsimile of the real life chassis, and they fucking train their drivers in it so that they can get training without having to like go beyond testing time limits and get fucking dicked over for it.
Right, right, right. I feel you on that. There it goes. That's crazy, man. That's cool because like you're tapping into something like you can basically feel like and have the. Well, I mean, there's going to be obviously some limitations, that heat and you know things like that, but like
Oh yeah.
you can get a good feel for what it would be like to actually be doing that. That's so rad.
Oh yeah, I wish it was a little bit less expensive to get more absurd shit, which is part of the reason why I'm as far left as I am, so that we can just have like free motion, so that we can just have free racing simulator setups for everybody, at least like the basic level shit.
I'm with it. You know, why not? You know,
I follow a person on Twitter who's, I've been trying to like assemble people who are into racing simulators. Yeah, true. You're sadly the one thing that you cannot emulate with any, even the most absurd full motion racing sim setup, is you cannot emulate the 5G, the like when you're turning a like fucking sweeping corner in a Formula One car and pulling like 5 lateral G's doing it.
right, right. Yeah, you're not gonna get close to that. Yeah.
That's what like blows my mind when I'm watching Formula One, is when you're watching them take one of those corners that like looks kind of sharp, but they're still able to take it full throttle because it's a Formula One car. That force of like driving that fast while driving the car in a curved motion subjects you to like 5 lateral G's of fucking force.
That's
It's
so
like
freaking
fucking
awesome.
it's like fighter
Face
pilot
melting.
level of shit. Those guys have to be like yeah, those sim rigs which do like turn and bump, those are, a friend of mine was telling me that an old friend of ours in high school who was a karting driver, he was like a highly competitive go-kart driver. Like his family spent almost all their disposable income on that shit. Right after we graduated from high school, he had to retire because or way after, they were a year ahead of me. I was graduated 2014, they graduated 13. Regardless, yeah, right after they graduated in 2013, this guy like had a race. He got in a nasty accident, whacked his head around real bad, and he can't ever race real cars again. So he got
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
one of these absurd setups that's like a full fucking thing that like that got like a full fucking thing that like turns the car like a full like bucket, a full motion thing where it's like an actual bucket seat and the wheel and pedals and shifter and shit bolted to this big frame on a hydraulic thing that like shakes it around while you're driving and stuff. I'm sorry. I just realized I've been dominating the fuck out of this conversation because I'm blitzed and I was.
And you're
rambling
talking about cool ass
addiction
shit that I don't know a lot about, and I'm learning things. So like, yeah, I don't mind. It's cool being on here with you. You know,
It's all good.
So-
yeah, I appreciate it.
it gave me a chance to like listen to you. I try to do a few things at once, but you know how it can be sometimes. But I was trying to get an overview of kind of what happened with Joe Manchin's daughter, and I'm reading this like there's some pretty scathing emails that got pulled up, huh? Holy crap!
Yeah, I'm definitely uploading the segment I did on my stream earlier. It was the first like real segment. Whenever I'm gonna cover politics, I'll usually start my stream up, and then to like warm up, I'll just like watch the Democracy Now! Headline reel from the morning if it's a weekday.
Right.
And just as like the warm up, and then the first like real segment I did after that was about this whole thing because I had seen this stuff in the news before. I was reading an article from The Intercept about it. Is that the article you're looking at?
Yeah. It's like
Yeah,
got copies of the emails and stuff right there.
Yeah, those emails, and they're these PowerPoint slides that are literally like this is like where the source is. This is like released shit that was presented as evidence in a court case. And,
Yeah.
like this is legit. This is not fucking just random shit that was given to news people with shady origins. Those emails are such fucking smoking guns that Joe Manchin's daughter was so blatantly fucking involved in these obvious price fixing schemes.
Yeah, the whole thing of like getting Pfizer to divest so that Mylan could carry the sole patent and distribution.
Yeah, getting Pfizer to just like to completely divest from and stop like enabling the production of like one of the only fucking off-brand competitors to EpiPen that provided a cheaper alternative and thus kind of helped keep prices slightly under control.
Yeah, and then they got the 2-pack thing.
Then they're
like,
gone. Then they're gone. Yeah, exactly. It's this weird. The two schemes just like mutually benefit each other.
dude.
And then it's so weird that like she was involved in all of this, and then just recently, Joe Manchin was encouraging that we take that like Democrats take a strategic pause, whatever the fuck that means.
I
to
heard
them,
that, dude. That infuriated me.
on the budget reconciliation package that was worth like $3.5 trillion because of. And that package that he was encouraging them to take a strategic pause on, to use his words, included something that would like help try to control drug prices better by enabling Medicare
Yep.
to like negotiate the prices with these fucking pharmaceutical leeches directly instead of having to go through like help insurance, whatever fucking excuse me, whatever fucking go-betweens that they have to go through, that they have to fucking go through under this current thing.
Yeah, see, that's
And that
I knew that he was going to do that.
threatens.
Did you hear what he said? He said they just released. He said he's not going over 1.5 trillion. He said he's not going to go over 1.5 trillion. I'm like, what?
Making the Pog-O face at my camera right now.
Like, it's freaking depressing. This guy, man. Like, I mean, I don't necessarily like Democrats, but how can he call himself even a Democrat? He's not even a freaking Democrat.
Exactly. I have a lot of issues with the Democrats. I consider myself a decently far left person, although plenty of people have tried to call me a lib for various really stupid reasons, even though I am. So I've like encountered like plenty of leftists where they're very much like, I'm like anti-liberal. I wouldn't even say necessarily I'm anti-liberal, just I am disdainful of it because my politics, rather than like a rejection of liberalism, I view it almost as like the transcendence of liberalism.
Right.
And that's how like socialist politics should be like viewed. Because like originally this term liberalism came about back in the fucking like back in like the 19th century in European countries that a lot of which were still ruled by like absolute monarchies.
Right.
And those that had constitutional monarchies, the way that it was set up in those time periods, the monarch still had very significant power, and it was literally just inherited. And it was often like a politically sketchy thing to do to criticize the monarch.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And now there's still places where that is like a thing that you gotta like not, where you like don't want to do if you like enjoy being a free person, so to speak.
Or not
as
having your head
free
chopped
as
off, you know.
can be, yeah, basically not like having your head chopped off or fucking sitting in prison. Like, yeah, the Saudi king and a bunch of those other fucking oil-rich noblemen in the Arabian Peninsula will treat their critics very harshly. In Thailand, the king is like protected by like complete fucking immunity from all shit. I was reading recently, like not long ago, there was this whole thing where like the current king's sister, because like a couple of years ago, Thailand's king, who was the longest reigning monarch on the face of the fucking earth.
That's
He's not an
right. That's
absolute
right.
monarch. Yeah, the guy finally died. His name was like Bhumibol Adulyadej, I believe is how you pronounce it in Thai, but the way it's spelled does not look like that because the way we transliterate Thai is really fucking stupid. But yeah, Bhumibol Adulyadej's son, Vajiralongkorn, is the king of Thailand. Now there was something where like his sister was hospitalized for broken ankles, and apparently it was like he was like in an argument with something about the way he was treating like the position as king and how like he's basically just like enables their military dictator. Prayut Chan-o-cha, I think, might have been part of the conversation, but he like got mad. His dogs like knocked her to the ground, and then he allegedly like broke her fucking ankles by like beating her with a cane or jumping on them.
That is horrible.
Yeah,
Holy
I was,
shit,
like,
man! What the? That's your sister? What do you do to the people you don't like?
I was literally just like, what the fuck? Like, some like despot ordering his like political opponent,
we're just hanging out talking to Beer Bash
in any way, who used to be like somebody associated with the family, ordering that guy fucking like to be like abducted and dismembered in a Saudi embassy in Turkey. That seems like something that you would expect some fucking brutal despot to do. And then it's like, okay, you're doing that shit to your own you're like beating the fuck out of your own sister over disagreements? What the fuck, bro?
Yeah, no shit, man. That's like there's not much family love there, that's for sure.
I remember I knew a kid from Thailand when I was like middle in high school, and it seems like Thailand is like a cool, beautiful place, and it is a damn shame that, in a similar way to the United States, it is a damn shame that they are governed by these ghouls. And a problem is that it's also enabled by the United States. Portugal was founded when the first king rebelled against his mother. I did not know that, Eurus McProll.
Whoa.
Little history fact learned from one of my chatters.
See, these stoner chats can be very, very informative.
Stoner babble chats are like extremely informative, and I fucking love it. I always end up learning things whenever I go on like fucking like stoner obsessions about shit. Yeah, you're right, Eurus. It does seem to be a thing for monarchies where like children rebelling against their parents. Like there was this Chinese movie I remember watching called The Curse of the Golden Flower that was like based on this incident in China called the Chrysanthemum Rebellion that was happening, I think, in a period of China that kind of aligned with like the European Middle Ages.
Okay. So like the feudal era?
Yeah. Like around like 1000s AD or something like that. And like around 1,000 years ago. And yeah, I remember like and like the fucking king's son, like in this movie, the like emperor's son like took part in this fucking chrysanthemum rebellion against the rule, and they like started dueling, and they like ended up dueling in the hallway of a palace during the like ultimate like thing, and the fucking and yeah, this movie was based on like at least the romanticized accounts of the actual like events. And the emperor just like he had his son on the floor and he just like takes off this like ornamental looking gold belt that he's wearing and just savagely fucking beats his son to death with it.
Jesus.
And I am just like
Jesus.
wow. I'm just like
Going
wow.
hard
Yeah,
in the
this
paint.
is what the concept of power does to people with close blood ties.
Yeah. I mean, if you think you're worried about like somebody taking your political position, imagine your family being the only ones that could like succeed you in power, you know?
Yeah,
And so
or you're
like
like weird incestuous brother cousins from a different branch.
right? Because the tree can't fork that far. Otherwise, then you lose the whatever they want to call that, the purity of the bloodline
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, like all those European royal families are so fucking inbred. I wouldn't be surprised if like royal families in other parts of the world other than Europe aren't also. I wouldn't be surprised if they are also extremely inbred, but holy shit, is European royalty like inbred as all fuck. Like Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, the Duke of
Yeah,
Edinburgh,
they're
were
cousins, right?
were like fucking not like super closely, but not super distantly related cousins. They were like third or fourth cousins or something like that.
Close enough to where their mamas probably still knew each other.
It was close enough to the point where it's like weird and actually like significantly or raises the risk of like genetic disease problems.
Right.
Like, for example, European royalty, especially House Romanov of Russia, had a serious problem with hemophilia. I forget if that's still a thing.
Well, even King Tut was inbred and was like horribly deformed because of inbreeding in like the Egyptian royalty.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
Hello
they
World,
rebuilt
080,
his
thanks for
body,
following.
like they CGI rebuilt his body, and it's like all jacked, man. He had some major birth defects. He was messed up.
That's part of why he died at the age of 18 or something like that.
Right.
I'm guessing. Yeah, kind of like that's almost like the Egyptian Charles II of Spain.
Is that what happened with him? He was super
Charles
inbred.
II was like the super the Habsburg jaw is that like
Oh yeah,
is the stereo like the House
that
of
huge
Habsburg
ass
especially
jaw,
had a
like
tendency to have like a serious underbite. Charles II's underbite was so bad to the point where it significantly affected his speech and made eating difficult. He was also suspected to have like a variety of intellectual disabilities, and he is suspected to have a variety of intellectual disabilities. Just his entire life was also just like very frail and sickly, and ended up dying in his like late 30s or early 40s, like a relatively young age even for that time period. And yeah, that his like rule was an example of why like hereditary power is incredibly stupid, because he was never really actually capable of wielding the massive amounts of power he was like inheriting.
well, yeah. I mean, how many of these kings? You know, you could go back and probably be like,
and because
how many were like that? You know.
yeah, and because he was and because of his like conditions and whatnot, significant portions of his rule were ruled by regents rather than himself, including like towards the end of his life. Like when he was like in like not super like not like in like getting out of young adulthood, like in his like mid or late 20s or something, he eventually like had this like serious like nervous breakdown from the stress relating to being a monarch of what was at the time like the largest empire on the planet, and he was like and ended up like having some regent that was like a corrupt sleazeball while he just like kind of had fun and tried to enjoy the rest of his sad miserable life. That's like that's like another thing is there's like certain cases where I almost like feel bad for certain monarchs.
Well, yeah,
because it's like nobody is has conscious control of the situation you're born in, and you can be born into a situation of extreme privilege, such as that, and there are still like factors beyond your control that make it horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, or you could be, or adversely, like you could be like, born into a total shit show where dad screwed everything up, and now you're having to be like, well, I'm like 16, dad died on the battlefield, what the hell do I do? You know?
Yeah. Remember in Game of Thrones, yeah, like Garrus McProll was mentioning in my chat earlier, like people like some of like medieval like basically medieval royal drama was like people LARPing Game of Thrones essentially.
Right, right.
And remember in Game of Thrones, like in the TV series, they advanced the ages of a lot of characters a couple years to make it seem a little bit less fucked up.
Right.
In the Game of Thrones book, Daenerys is like 14, is like either 14 or 16 when the book first starts. Robb Stark is like 16. Sansa Stark's like fucking 12 or something. Maisie's like 11 or 10. Bran's like 6 years older, some shit. And it's like, and it's literally like this 16-year-old kid like becomes like the lord of a realm and then like claims the title of a king and leads an army in a war to try to claim that title after like his father had his head chopped off and jammed on a fucking spike because he knew that the like king that was taking power was not like technically the true heir and the product of incest.
Yep. Oh, and that story is so twisted too. I actually really enjoyed it. People. I mean, I saw the show. I didn't have the patience to read all the books.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you.
Grandmother gave him all the books and he wants to read them, but it's also like he's never been a dude who is that into reading, and as much as he wants to read them, it's intimidating how fucking long they all are.
Oh yeah. I mean, you give me a Hunter S. Thompson book, I'll read that shit, because he just writes and run-on sentences, so the book moves so quickly, you know. You get right through it.
I actually need to like read more about. I know about the dude. I think he's decently based, but
he's an absolute lunatic. He was an absolute lunatic.
Like, actually, yeah, he was definitely an absolute lunatic. I haven't really like read much of his actual work. Like I've never read Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I haven't read many of the multiple essays and articles he read about shit like.
Yeah, my buddy was just referencing the Rum Diaries, and I read that one a few times. That one was really good, and he also did the one on it's called Hell's Angels, about his experience with the Hell's Angels. That one's intense, man. Like that's a really good book. It's really good.
Hunter S. Thompson is like part of the reason why on the panel when we were talking about like media bias, like why. Was it in my closing statement where I brought up like how part of why gonzo journalism exists is because like it's a result of essentially like acknowledging that true objectivity in like journalism is an impossible standard to meet and kind of rejects it altogether in favor of like the writer inserting himself into the story he's conveying.
Yep, that's exactly it. He's like, well, I should just be a part of the story. And that's what he did, you know. And some of the articles, like he's got some where he was with rock bands and he's getting fucked up with the rock band, dude. Like, and it's like he's just telling his story about it. It's like, that's whatever, like, dude. Like
one person who's like that in modern times, maybe not in the same like manner that Hunter S. Thompson was, but just this whole style, like, what the fuck is his goddamn name? The guy who ran All Gas No Brakes until because he was conned into signing a predatory contract that intellectual property was like swiped out from under his feet, and he had to create his new series, Channel 5. So like Andrew McCallahan or something like that.
Okay, I'm not familiar with him. I have to check it out though.
You've never heard of All Gas No Brakes?
No, I'll check that out though. I'm looking that up right now.
I don't know if the old videos with the guy who started it are still on the YouTube channel.
Uh-huh.
But basically All Gas No Brakes was this guy would just like insert himself into situations, and he would just like get like man on the street interviews with random jerk offs in like all sorts of situations, like during like these like the fucking Seattle, or was it Seattle or was it in Minneapolis? During some serious like anti-police brutality protests, I think it might have even been like in Chaz or something. He's literally just walking around wearing a bicycle helmet and a gas mask, just like asking people just like questions like, so what are you guys doing here today? And then his Patreon apparently was just like the savage shit that like couldn't even go on YouTube, like literally him just like on porno sets, like casually interviewing crew members while people are fucking in the background. And,
that's
like,
great.
And the sad thing is, yeah, All Gas No Brakes was amazing. And then basically when he so when he first got like a deal to help like really boost that whole project, he like signed a contract that enabled the fucking production company that was helping that was helping him put together the whole thing, because it originally started as literally like him and like the person that holds the camera, and that's it.
Isn't that how it always starts? Isn't that how the good stuff starts?
Yeah, it is how the good stuff starts. And then, like, one day he posted on social media, I'm no longer part of All Gas No Brakes. And, like, explained how basically he was, like, excited about how this, like, new thing he made was getting traction, and these scumbags conned him into signing this contract, then enabled him to rip his own project out from under him and shit can him from it.
Oh, man, that's some dog shit.
Yeah, it was really fucked up. So his new channel is called Channel 5. I haven't really watched enough of the Channel 5 content that he's managed to put out yet, but yeah, his new thing's called Channel 5. He has like a new Patreon for it, and I think he's been able to actually because most of the people I've encountered, most of the people who like All Gas No Brakes were like, what the actual fuck is this? I'm gonna go support Andrew's new thing instead of whatever the fuck they do with All Gas No Brakes. Yeah, is it
2 seconds? Yeah, give me just 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, he was asking me what happened to the All Gas No Brakes, dude. Yeah, it was like so fucked up what happened to him, though. Yes, take your time, Jason. I'm gonna start this rally stage. Hey, Ghetto Spock, what's good? We're gonna play some Dirt Rally 2.0, and we're doing a good old stoner chat with a fellow leftist streamer comrade I encountered in this. Jablu, thank you very much for dropping the follow. I appreciate that very much, comrade.
What was
Yeah,
that? What was that last part you said?
I was thanking a new follow.
Oh.
But and talking to chat, but taking a quick sip of whiskey.
Yeah, he seems I was just looking at his stuff. He does seem very, very gonzo. Very, very gonzo.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can appreciate him, you would definitely appreciate Thompson. Like, he's got some great stories. He definitely has a social libertarian bent. I don't really know where he was economically. I'm not sure about that. I'm really not.
Nixon. He really hated Nixon, as should everybody, but he really fucking hated
yeah.
He did. Nixon's face.
He did. He hated Nixon with a passion. That was Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trails. What was it, 72 or something?
Campaign Trail 72?
Yeah, 72.
I've heard of that. I've never read it. When I was like in English class when I was in high school, we had to read a Hunter Thompson thing, and I can't remember for the life of me what it was anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, he had some great short articles, and some of the stuff early on, like before he got real crazy, was just very entertaining.
Excuse me. Oh yeah.
He did this one with
Yeah.
Ralph Steadman about him going to the Kentucky Derby. That was one of the first ones where he just gets totally blitzed. That story is amazing. That might be a good short story or article to start out with because it is so good.
Yeah, and one thing that I've always thought was interesting about Hunter Thompson that I found out is so like early in his career, he worked very early in his career. He like worked as like the editor or something at this newspaper like based out of I think either Beech Creek or Renovo, Pennsylvania. I think it was Renovo actually. I'm gonna pull up Hunter Thompson's Wikipedia page real quick just to refresh my memory.
Do it.
That's right. Yeah, he was a sports editor. After he left the Air Force, he was a sports editor for this newspaper in a town called Jersey Shore, Pennsylvania. Jersey Shore,
Jersey Shore.
Pennsylvania. Jersey. It's ironic because Jersey Shore, Pennsylvania is pretty fucking far away from New Jersey. It's closer to the New York border than it is to Pennsylvania's New Jersey border by a rather significant margin. I grew up in a town. The reason why when I found that out, that was like, oh, that's really weird, is because I grew up in a town about like 45 or 50 miles southwest of there.
Oh,
And
really?
I had been up yeah, I'm originally from, I live in upstate New York now, but I'm originally from central Pennsylvania. Central Pennsylvania? Have you ever been to Pennsylvania at all in your life? I'm not sure what part of the, are you American? Or are you from like Canada?
I'm in Arizona,
Oh, gotcha.
West Coast.
Yeah, you ever been to Pennsylvania before?
No, I haven't.
So, like, people often think of Pennsylvania, they think either Pittsburgh or Philadelphia.
Right.
And Pittsburgh and Philadelphia are on the, like, all, like, rather opposite ends of the state. Like, Pittsburgh is sorta southwest, but not, like, extreme southwest.
Okay.
Whereas Philadelphia is about as far southeast as you can go in Pennsylvania. Like, it literally sits on the border with New Jersey and not far from Delaware. And then I'm from the parts of Pennsylvania that are in the middle of that, which is really, really weird. And, like, one reason why I'm like so disdainful of people like Crudgelord is because even though he's like some weird Florida weird ass or something, and Floridians are and like Floridian right-oid weirdos are their own kind of like little category of weird ass, but
Wait, I thought he was
they're
from
like-
Massachusetts.
wait, what?
Yeah, he's from Massachusetts, dude.
Oh, are you fucking kidding me?
No.
The reason why I thought he was from
He
Florida
does act
is
like a
because
Florida
I
man,
know-
though.
The reason why I thought he was a Florida man was because earlier we were watching that video of CTV on my stream. We were watching that video of CTV malding about the Oh, Jablu is asking whereabouts. I grew up in upstate New York. The furthest I will reveal my location publicly, Jablu, is I am sort of in the greater Rochester area, but I'm kind of in the outer peripheries of it. But and you live in Tucson now. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I'm an upstate New Yorker. Somebody in my chat grew up there and is now living out in Arizona, where you're at, Jason.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we're in the Metro Phoenix area, so. But
Gotcha.
Tucson's not far from us. Tucson's only about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. I lived down there for a while. I used to work at a head shop down there. It was fun. I had a good time.
Jersey Shore is an interesting little town. I remember when I was a kid. You ever heard of geocaching?
Oh yeah, yeah. Where they go stick the little USB
You just
sticks in
stick a
the
little like.
wall and shit, or in a tree or whatever. It's
I didn't know people were doing it with like USB devices now, but when I was a kid, I remember people were. I remember it was literally just people. Literally, the whole thing was you would just like leave this little like cache, whether it be like a micro cache was literally, I remember ones that were tagged on the website with micro cache were literally like fucking photo film canisters back when those were like a common household item. And which I'm only 26. Just my dad knew a guy because my dad grew up around Rochester, New York. That's where Kodak is.
Thanks for the follow.
And so my dad knew a guy that worked for Kodak, and so he religiously bought Kodak film and was extremely reluctant to go to digital because he knew people that like were employed by them, even though he had lived like a couple 100 miles away in Pennsylvania.
Really?
Jersey,
So it's like the community is so small, or is it just that the population is so sparse that you end up running into people like that, or?
No, I just mean the greater Rochester area in upstate New York is Rochester's not like a rural area. Where I live is out on the outer peripheries of it, where suburbs are starting to like turn into rural areas.
Okay.
Rochester, New York's like right next to Lake Ontario. It's
Gotcha. Okay.
It's about 75 miles east of Buffalo. What's ironic is where I live now is significantly Jablu. Oh, gotcha. You're from around Binghamton originally? That's cool. I know where Binghamton's at. Binghamton's real close to the Pennsylvania border. Where I'm originally from, though, is State College, Pennsylvania, where Penn State University is.
Oh, okay. So you grew up in a university town.
It was a weird experience growing up there, because it's a particularly large town for like the concept of a college town.
Right.
Like there's a lot of college towns around the United States. There are college towns, but they're still like kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and they're pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
State College is a lot bigger than those types of places, but it's like getting closer to the 10th largest city in Pennsylvania or something like that. Ghetto Spock in my chat says, who is a fellow person from that region, he's a guy I know in real life. The Willard Preacher is still at it by, oh my god!
Uh-oh.
The Willard Preacher is this guy who stands outside of of one of the information technology classroom buildings called the Willard Building. He stands outside and just tells everybody walking by they're going to hell for ridiculous reasons, telling women that they're sluts and they're gonna burn in hell for wearing tight-fitting leggings no, he's bad. He's really bad. He's a fucking nationally known meme.
That's a trip, man. You know, it's funny when I think about people like that. I used to get very offended. I would just want to shout them down. But I think what works better is just pointing and laughing at them, and laughing at what an idiot they are. You know, I think that exactly. Ridicule works way better.
I heard some awful shit about him. I had heard stuff about that guy. He doesn't get paid to do that. He
just really believes it.
He had his wife back in the day. He had his wife and kids living in serious poverty because he wouldn't really do anything to support them. He'd stand on the fucking corner by this classroom building and yell at people. I'm a pretty fucking I'm a pretty goddamn far left person. I don't shit on people for being poor. What I'm gonna shit on is when you're
you're willfully driving your family into poverty. That's a little different. You're
willfully driving in your family into poverty to preach this hateful, disgusting message. It's dude, why would you do that? You have become so consumed by this thing. If that is what you're going to do.
Rage and anger.
His wife could have gone and got a job, except knowing guys like that, they probably don't believe their wives should be working.
Exactly. Exactly. No.
And that's the reason why I am like especially like ruthless with people like Crudge Lord who embrace this. Like that guy, this Willard Preacher guy wasn't really like a redneck, but growing up in that town, it was like out anywhere like 10 miles or more outside of that like college town. And even like there were plenty of people in my town's high school because the catchment area went pretty far outside the college town.
Okay.
There were plenty of people I went to school with that are these like dumb racist rednecks who would like throw the fucking N-word around really casually and shit, and they were also like, I hate the fact that I used to be friends with some of those types of people, and I would just kind of be like, oh man, you know, you really like shouldn't say that about black people, rather than be like, bro, what the fuck?
Right. But see,
But,
I can empathize with that because in Arizona it was the same way. I mean, when
I
I
can
first moved
believe
out
that.
here, because I originally am from San Diego, California, and then I moved out here.
yeah.
And when I moved out here, I was a kid when my parents moved me out here when I was very, very young, and it was like rednecks and cowboys and stuff like that. And I was this kid from California. I was learning how to surf. I skateboarded. You know, I was that kid. You know, and they're like,
Don't mind me
"Look at
asking,
this
how old are
hippie
you?
kid." I'm 41,
Oh, gotcha.
but
Yeah,
yes,
because I remember you were saying how you when I caught the tail end of your stream before you raided me after the panel the other day. I remember you were saying like you had a daughter and whatnot.
oh yeah, I'm a single dad, so that's part of my shtick. But not my shtick, but it's who I am. You know.
I have no
But,
intents on ever having children, but one of my best friends is a single dad, and he busts his ass and gets the shitty end of the stick a lot of the time, and I have respect for that grind.
Yeah, it's you know, it's funny because I used to, like there were people for a while there that they'd be like, "I'm so proud of you. You know, you're a single dad and you're doing it." And you know what I said? I was like, "There's nothing to be proud of. This is exactly what you're supposed to do." You know, but that doesn't mean there aren't struggles, and we shouldn't, you know, try to talk about ways to resolve those and, you know, find solutions because, you know, a single parent's a single parent, whether it's a single mom or a single dad. You know, they're both going to have very similar struggles and things they have to overcome.
Exactly.
So,
And it's one reason why I've always been like critical of this model where it's like people like worship the idea of like like the kid's gotta have two parents because it's like really we should be cultivating an environment where like how the fuck do I put this in words? I am drunk and blitzed and I'm trying to put this in words. Really, regardless of whether or not a kid's like biological parents are still together or if they're separated and if either of them have like got together with somebody else or whatnot.
mhm.
Really, we should normalize this idea of like communities caring for like communities of people caring for each other's children and whatnot.
Exactly. And like me
Yeah,
and
and Jablu just said, takes a village to raise a child, the two-parent nuclear family. It's an incredibly flawed concept when you think of it as this, like, ultra-rigid fucking concept that, like, everybody should have to live by. And that's, like, the peak of fucking family. Like, why? What actually supports that?
yeah, and you know what's
And,
interesting
you're here. I'm sorry, go ahead.
is I actually live outside of that dynamic, which is nice because like so the mother of my daughter is she's been in a long-term relationship with her girlfriend, and I think they're getting married or have gotten married. We don't speak as often as we should, but like my daughter has a relationship with both of them. She has a relationship with me and my fiance, my partner. And it's like we all, you know, we're all here and like present, and none of us like have the feels about the others being involved. You know what I mean? It's like, and it works out. She has a good support system that way.
Yeah, that's
you know?
good too.
So, and it, you know, and it's a well-rounded environment. There's a lot of different influence and a lot of, you know, she knows that there's a lot of acceptance for, you know, like all different ways of life and races and stuff, because we have a very mixed family. Like, I'm white, her mom is Chinese and Mexican, my fiance is Puerto Rican, you know, and yada 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 on down the line. But, you know, and all with, you know, dealing with, you know, a mix of different sexual orientations too. So it's like she gets to see like a real well-rounded like shape of what I think represents America now, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's, again, like you're saying, it's not as rigid as just, you know, the mom and dad are raising the kid. She's got a lot of positive influences around her. And so, yeah, it's actually, I think that your point is very valid.
Deal. Yeah, the biggest part is positive influences. That's the biggest part in this idea that like positive influences are like set in stone by result of a blood relation is just, I feel like I could say like I feel like it's bullshit, but I could back it up so solidly by so many real world cases where people have had like fucking more like positive, almost parental figures that had no familial ties with them whatsoever compared to their actual like parental, the commonly societally accepted parental figures who they had familial ties with were like so shitty at doing that job it caused them harm.
Yeah, and they buy them into the idea. The parent, usually the bad parent will buy them into the idea by saying, "Well, we're blood. You never betrayed family." You know, oh well,
Yeah.
you never snitch on family. You never betray family. As the kid's walking around with bruises all over him or whatever, and you know, not to be graphic, but that's what happens. You know.
Yeah, that's like the really shitty, dark reality of what fucking happens in these types of situations, all too fucking commonly.
So allowing, you know, more community in, you know, I mean, even I think that can happen too with large families. I know that there are some families that are a little bit more traditional where like the aunts and uncles and grandmas and grandpas and all those people are around quite a bit, you know? So I think in some cases there is that community that way. But, you know, I also think like, for example, like, I hate my kid going to school during these times with COVID and all this, because I'm in one of those states where the governor did the whole anti-mask mandate thing.
Oh,
so
no.
Yeah, so like it's rough.
I forgot that Arizona's. It doesn't surprise me at all that Arizona's governor did that. I just forgot that Arizona was one of the places where the governor explicitly did that.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
fucking Ron DeSantis in Florida. That
exactly
worthless fucking scumbag.
We're the Florida of the West, you know. But you know, like part of the thing there was that like she's always had a good relationship with the people at the school too. And you know, there's always been like that community sense there too, where like, and we've all like the way our family and the school communicates is really surprisingly well, you know, because here I am like a ex-rocker stoner dad, you know, and doing my thing, but they all actually bands? Oh yeah, I was a singer. That's where the name comes from. It's my defunct band, but yeah, so you know, it's weird, you know, like at this stage in my life, even now, I always I still look at like teachers and schools as this authority figure, but they're so down to earth and so good with my kiddo. She gets that community there too, and I think that's what we need. So that's what sucked about pulling her out of school during COVID is because there's also a need for that other external support too, you know.
Yeah, that's like a shitty thing to have to balance for sure.
But luckily, the school's been pretty good about, you know, doing other mitigation things. They've not really had very many cases, but
are they doing like a kind of thing where, like some schools and actually, I think a lot of them stopped doing this because I kind of hope Kathy Hochul reverses some of this shit, the new governor, because, you know, up here in New York, we had our governor resign recently because Andrew Cuomo's a scumbag.
He's a piece of
And,
shit. I'm just gonna say it.
he's such a piece of fucking shit. I had been saying this whole time, too. Like, when like all these people are like, oh my god, Andy Cuomo is trying to like control COVID while Donald Trump's just playing with his balls. I'm a Cuomo-sexual now.
Yeah.
I was just like, please kill me.
I was like,
No,
I'm
if
not
anybody
buying it,
like
bro.
that I'm closely associated with is like actually unironically says I am a Cuomo-sexual, please kill me.
Right? Yeah. Just
Yeah.
put me out of my misery, Jesus.
Yeah, it's just like, for fuck's sake, this dude is such like a sleazy fucking grifter piece of shit. He's literally just a fail son.
Man,
But,
you could see it. Like, I don't know. He's like, you could kind of see the grift written all over him, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And that's what
I
blows my
wasn't
mind when all these
surprised.
like Democrat figures were fucking fawning about him.
Remember when there was even talk about putting him up for to run for president? There was even a talk about putting him
Yeah,
up
that
to run
was-
for president. I was like,
Yeah, that was
don't,
bad.
please don't do
was
that.
that was some cursed discourse.
Yeah. I was like sitting in my room at night about ready to cry into my pillow, like, do not run that guy. Because there's going to be so many people that'd be dumb enough to jump on board with it because of those stupid press conferences. How do you win a damn Emmy for press conferences? What the hell was that?
I forgot that they gave him an Emmy for press conferences. I forgot about that.
For his press conferences. Yeah. He got an Emmy for his press conferences. Are you kidding me? They gave him an Emmy for that?
At the beginning of the whole thing, so shit. I am very inebriated. At the beginning of the whole COVID-19 problem, those press conferences were kind of welcome, considering that Donald Trump was just seeming to do like everything possible to just obfuscate access to information relating to COVID-19.
That's
While
true.
trying to claim it was no big deal. And so just having somebody like sit there and tell us like some straight up information about COVID-19, it wasn't like it was an unwelcome thing. Yeah, exactly. Andrew Cuomo's like fucking press conferences had some valuable information, Jablu, while Trump's press conferences were just absolute fucking
Yeah, you couldn't rely on
insanity.
anything coming
The
out of a
term,
Trump
like,
press conference. That
insanity
is
kinda
true.
carries some like. I've been trying to like move away from using terms like insane and whatnot to describe like things negatively or whatnot, because you know it's kind of like it carries like a lot of negative connotations that can like demonize neurodivergent people, but to like a certain degree. So I've been trying to like move away from that type of language.
Yeah, I have
But
a
it was
problem
still
using
just,
psychopaths
like-
and lunatics, so I've been trying to work on that myself.
Yeah, I've been trying to
Those are the
work
two
on
that
too, although
I use to describe
every now
Trumpers.
and then there's like like the way some people look at politics. I'm just like not. It's like I'm not afraid to say. I'm not like a doctor, but something about the way this person looks at like politics and human issues seems rather psychopathic.
Right.
When it gets to like really, really, really bad shit, I try to save it for the really bad shit when I'm out of other words to use.
Right, yeah.
No.
Like the very end. I was really trying not to drop the F-bomb even on Hippy Dippy when I was on there. I was like, all right, I'm just going to try not to. And I think I made it through most of it without, I think I may have dropped one or two, but I was really trying not to. And because I have a thing where if I drop an F-bomb, then I have to take a dab. And so like it gets pretty dicey because
Is that the word fuck or a homophobic slur or someone F-bomb that I'm not aware of?
no, just that F word, not the homophobic slur. But I don't say that either, anyways. But no, the All right, you guys.
The first one?
I'm giving you you're gonna get a dab from this because I gotta tell him. But yes, fuck. So that's the word. And so every time I say it, I have to take a dab. So when we get
Since
in
you
the
got a
heated,
kid.
what's that?
Makes sense. You got a kid, and I know it's a word that can like really offend people. That's a word that like it's like offensiveness to people I've just long found kind of silly, which is why I'm not afraid of using it. Plus, I've always had like a very irreverent personality. I don't really give much of a shit about like scatological fucking like language that's like scatological or like sexual innuendos in nature, as you can tell by the fact that I say fucking shit a lot, and then during my segment about like Joe Manchin's daughter's shady dealings with EpiPens, I frequently referred to the like dealings between her and the Pfizer people as them jerking each other off and stuff like that. But
Yeah, I don't really have
You're
a.
100% like saying fucking my chat for sure.
Oh, and really, the whole thing came about because every other word that I was dropping was fuck. So I'll just take two now, because all right, I don't mind taking two dabs, you know. But
Yeah,
it's because
that
when I
does
first
make
started
sense.
streaming,
That's a
like
good-
it was like every other word, and they're like, "Hey, dude, like you could say it, but like it's literally like every other word, man."
Look at my dab. Look at my
It does
dab.
make sense if you're dropping the word fuck literally like if you're dropping the word fuck too much for your liking, then then there is nothing wrong with wanting then there's nothing wrong with trying to take act to try with trying to reduce your usage of the word.
Curb that.
I've just never understood why we've turned it into such a taboo. It's just sex.
I actually think it's a pretty funny and diverse word. I love that word.
It is.
To tell you
Yeah.
the truth.
And it has the ring to it. Fuck.
Sometimes you just gotta say it, you know.
And this is relating to one of my favorite topics to discuss relating to politics that I haven't like discussed very much in a long time, actually. Not in a super long time, but in a little while. Longer than I'd like to have it be. I'm like a huge amateur linguistics nerd. I
Okay.
very much like attempting to like learn bits and pieces of other languages. I like learning about other languages and their relationship with like other languages that exist on this planet.
Sure.
And the way that like, you know, language is it's the way we communicate. It's such a fundamental part of our lives. Therefore, language plays like a very heavy role in politics. For example, there's the people who like think we should officially make English the only official federal language and use that as like a justification to like commit acts of linguistic discrimination against people who have like lived in the United States their whole lives but might not like be as competent with English as they are in some other language.
Right. Yep.
Especially, it's more common with Spanish probably than anything else because Spanish is the second most commonly spoken language here.
Yeah, not
And
a lot
then-
of people from like Ontario and Vancouver moving down here from, you know, or French speaking regions of Canada.
Quebec.
Yeah, there you go, Quebec.
Quebecois.
So
One thing I haven't done in ages that I need to start like making a regular practice of doing again is part of the reason why I like stopped doing this as often is because I got into politics streaming and I don't speak French really like well enough to really want to talk about politics in French. And so because I just can't get my ideas across well enough.
right.
But I used to do gaming streams in like I would do at least like twice a week for a period of time. I would change my language tag from English to French and like try to speak French as much as possible during the stream, unless I was like interacting with an English language chatter or
Right.
talking to somebody over the voice chat of the game I was playing that was speaking English.
That's cool as
But,
hell, man. So you
yeah,
can speak it enough to
I was
like
never I was never fluent in it, but I could speak it like it's French is a language that I feel like this might be a common theme among people who learn French as a second language. French is a
You didn't pass out on me, did you?
no, I didn't. My brain started wandering away, and I was like darting my eyes back and forth, like, what the fuck was I talking about? Oh yeah, but just I find French like easier to read and write than to actually speak, because especially like French people, and then almost even worse, Quebecois people, like people from Quebec who speak French as their first language, rather than Quebec has like an English-speaking minority, but they're like they actually one like piece of like Quebec legislature that I disagree with is how English has no official language status in Quebec.
Yeah, I heard
Even
that. I
though
heard there's like
in,
still a big thing about that, and that's been going on for a
in
long
the
time.
Canadian government, in the Canadian federal government, French and English are both co-official. Then in every province except 2 of the provinces, English is the only official language in the provincial government. The 2 languages where English is not the only official language in the provincial government is New Brunswick, both French and English it's the only officially bilingual province government, because like both French and English are official in the New Brunswick government, because like most people in New Brunswick speak English, but most people in New Brunswick speak English, but there's a pretty significant French-speaking minority, much more significant than like anywhere else in Canada other than New Brunswick and Quebec. Quebec is the only province where French speakers are the majority, and English has no official status in Quebec. I've made the journey by car from like United States to Quebec, and the way that I took, you went through Ontario after you crossed the Canadian border, before the eastern extremities of Ontario,
Okay.
before you cross the border into Quebec. When you cross the border into Quebec, even though you're still in Canada, crossing the border from Ontario to Quebec, it's almost like crossing into a different country. It's literally like the side you drive into is like, Bienvenue à Québec.
They let you know right away.
Welcome to Quebec. And in Quebec, English has no official status. There's a minority. There's a rather sizable minority of people who speak English as their first language in Quebec, but it's mostly French. People mostly speak French there, and like, if you need to speak English with people to communicate with people, if you're a tourist in Montreal, it doesn't see it. I remember when I went there, it didn't seem like they really held it against you that much, but but I would try to speak French with them as much as possible. That's why part of the reason why my mom went up there for a business trip, so me and my dad went along to just go check out Montreal. And part of the reason why my parents wanted to have me along is so I could do all the fucking talking for them, so they wouldn't seem like such whatever the French Canadian equivalent is of a gringo.
Right.
But yeah, Ursula, how different is Canadian and French from French? So I don't really know what like the French dialects that people speak in New Brunswick sound like at all. Quebecois French can be pretty weird. Like when I was speaking French with like restaurant employees and whatnot in Montreal, they could understand me fine because I was speaking like very standard French. I had a lot of difficulty understanding them, and that was when I was like not like I had been taking French like in high school.
Right.
And I was much less rusty with the French language than I am now.
And you're still pulling it off on streams, though. You know, hey, that's not bad, man.
Trying to listen to people speak French to me is always the thing I've had the most difficulty with. I can speak French to native French speakers, and they'll understand what I'm saying. I can understand a certain degree of written French. Sometimes shit kind of goes beyond my level, especially when it uses a lot of slang.
Right.
Because my school district, I was in learning French from like 2008 to 2000 fucking to like 2012 in like middle and high school.
Uh-huh.
And my school district was like mostly using textbooks from the fucking mid 90s.
Oh man. Some archaic language text.
It was a rich school district too. It was Sag.
That's kind of
Like,
like me in
literally,
Spanish.
I
Like
was-
I can understand Spanish. I can speak a little bit. I can read it. I like when I'm exposed to people who have been speaking it and I'm in the community for a while, like I can pick up more and I can have small like conversations. But if I haven't for a while, like it takes me a minute. You know, I have to like analyze everything. And some people here, depending on, you know, where they're from in the world, you know, or where their family's from, some of them speak Spanish very, very, very fast. And I'm like, whoa, I have
Yeah.
no idea what you just said right now. So
Like, that can be an issue with some like native French speakers trying to listen to them, and when you're trying to listen to French being spoken very fast, it's French.
right, yeah. Does it sound like it kind of runs together a little bit?
What's that?
Does it sound
a
like
lot
it
of
runs together?
runs together, and that's why, regardless of what dialect of French I'm listening to, whether it's Quebecois French or French,
Uh-huh.
I have trouble like understanding, like listening to it being spoken to me by a native speaker, how they would speak in casual speech. I'm like way better at fucking reading French than I am at understanding spoken French.
Right.
Yeah, Ghetto Spock in my chat says about the same as going from English to American English. Certain swears are Canadian only, for example. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, so, hey, Boy Meets Mini, what's good, comrade? But, yeah, like, I haven't seen him around a little bit, but a guy who's been hanging around my community, like, and has his own community a little bit. Actually, he's originally from France, but now he lives in Quebec. He also wants to like work on his English since he's mostly using French in his daily life and doesn't get as much opportunity to. So when he's in my chat, he types in English and then I respond to him in French.
Oh, nice. See, that works out. That's cool. And then you, like you
yeah.
said, you can
That's one
reading
thing
and
about
writing's
like
a little bit
having
better.
a really tiny, being like a fucking 5-viewer, Andy.
Right.
So he throws some F2 cars today. It was absolute dog shit. Need more practice before you stream that again. Otherwise, you're fine. What were you driving F2 cars on? Was that on? I know that like F1, that like the most recent renditions of the F1 official video game, F1 2021, you're driving F2 cars in that. Gotcha. Yeah, fucking. I think iRacing has like has the fucking current Formula 2 car spec as a car you can race. The iRacing does have a Formula 1 car, the ranked iRacing series that has the ranked iRacing series that uses Formula 1 cars that I'm aware of is called just like the iRacing Grand Prix series. Rather than being able to choose cars like you can in the official F1 game with the most recent cars, they everybody in that ranked series has to use the McLaren MP430, which was I can imagine in iRacing that car is fun to drive. In real life, it was a car that had a lot of potential because it could be brutal when it ran properly. It was mechanically unreliable.
Huh.
Yeah, but it's funny, even more so, it wasn't even really the slowest possible modern F1 car. It was it was a car that could perform decently fast. It was just like really mechanically unreliable. Mechanical failures caused it to have a shitload of DNFs. That's why McLaren finished like second to last in the Constructor Championship in the year that car ran. What's a decent wheels pedal setup cost? I've been meaning to dabble in sim racing for a long time, but reason. So, Jablu, the setup I'm running is the Thrustmaster T300 RSGT setup. There are other there are other setups, there are other box sets in the T300 family that come with like a slightly different wheel attachment to the base and like a set of pedals that only come with 2 pedals. I wanted to get the version that came with 3 pedals just for when I got it for like so that I could manually clutch it at least in the time before I got an actual shifter, which I still need to get. I spent $400
Peace
on
out,
my
Mike
setup
Lightyear.
for brand new. If you
Thanks for hanging
whether you
out.
get this exact setup that I have or you get one of the ones that only has like 2 pedals and isn't quite as expensive brand new, you can get a decent, if you, depending on what's available, like within a reasonable distance of you might be able to pick up a pretty fucking solid deal on like entry level sim racing equipment used.
Hey, Beer Batch, I gotta jump.
Yeah, no worries.
Hey,
I'm
let's
very
do this
happy to
again,
do this
too.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm very happy to do this again because there is some stuff that I wanted to talk about, but I was like really fucking blitzed and wasted, and so we went off into all sorts of like various directions and shit.
That's all
You have
right. That's what
yourself
it's all
a
about.
wonderful night, comrade, and what am I saying? Yeah, you have yourself a wonderful night. I wish you and your chat a wonderful evening.
And you as well, sir. I might be coming and raiding you here soon, all right?
Cool shit. Thank you very much.
Peace out.